Nick seems quite upbeat and optimistic that everything is as it should be, that things are in order. But since you are one of numerous observers on site, what are your thoughts following your observations?
Well, I would say so far, if we work with INEC's plan, yesterday we were at the CBN office. I was there to observe the deployment of the sensitive materials from the capital, Oka, down to the respective local government. And as yesterday, we saw that the materials were moving from INEC, from CBN to the local government areas. And today, we're going to the local government offices to observe the deployment to the racks, because today materials are meant to move from the racks, that's the registration area centers, which are like ward levels. They're supposed to be stored there overnight so that early morning tomorrow, they will be moving to the polling units. And so for us, our goal is to follow through, because it's one thing to make promises, it's another thing to have it, to have these promises achieved. And if we've worked in elections, we know that the eve of elections, we have lots of promises from the Electoral Commission. And so for us, it's not necessarily to focus on the promises, but to track how each activity is adhered to. And one of the things we're making, one of our major advocacy for this election is the efficiency test. We have three major tests to assess these elections by: the efficiency test, the integrity test, and impartiality test. And efficiency is key. The logistics management for us, that by tomorrow morning, what we want to see, what Anambra voters and stakeholders want to see, is early opening of polls and early commencement of the process, which is why today we are focusing on how the materials are moving to the racks. That is because Anambra historically has a history of late opening of polls, and we do not want to see that happening in these elections. And so we will be following through the process. The last elections alone, by 7:30, only 17% of polling units had opened. And by 10 a.m., only about 50% of polling units had commenced accreditation and voting, and some started as late as 12 noon. And so our call to the Electoral Commission is, it's not just about the promises. When you make a promise and do not deliver, it affects the trust in the process. And so while you make these promises and while you sound optimistic, the one way to build or rebuild confidence in the process and in the Electoral Commission is to ensure that these promises are achieved tomorrow, that we have opening of polls across board. We want to see materials and personnel at least 7:30 a.m. at the polling units, so that by 8:30, which is the official time for commencement, by 8:30 a.m., voting and accreditation would have commenced. The second for us is the integrity test. The BVAS is key. Integrity of the process is important in building confidence in our democracy and our elections. And for us, the deployment of the BVAS across board is important, that every polling unit has the BVAS. INEC has said they have the BVAS all configured and they'll be deployed with some BVAS in reserve. From the by-elections, there were some locations where they were alleged bypass of the BVAS. I was saying for these elections, it has to be key that the BVAS functions optimally throughout and that the BVAS is used to accredit voters, because the Electoral Act makes this mandatory in our elections process, and that the INEC result viewing portal is also activated, so that once voting is concluded at polling units, the result sheets from EC8A would be uploaded on the result viewing portal, and voters can follow through the results through the collation process. That is key for us in promoting integrity. And we want to see uniformity of practice across board. We don't want locations where practices are adhered to, while in some of the other locations they are not. This also includes the result collation process. You know that our result has remained the result collation, usually the blind spot. We want to see better INEC and better oversight from ward collation to LGA and to the state collation. I think the third test for us is the impartiality test. One of the things we want to see in this election is a security agency that is impartial, neutral, and non-partisan in their deployment, in their level of professionalism, and in their commitment to arrest election fraudsters, those who are there to buy votes, those who are there to undermine the process. We want to start seeing arrest of anyone that would undermine the process, but we want to especially see them deploy in a way that is very professional, and that in their deployment, they are not interfering with the process. Rather, they are there to just secure the electoral officials that are materials, and secure voters who engage in the process. And then the impartiality also includes the Electoral Commission. INEC has that role. I mean, with the new chair on board, Professor Amopit and SAN, is important. This is his first official outing as the chair of the Electoral Commission. So this election will further be testing his leadership. And so we want to see him provide that leadership that puts, let me use the Nigerian term, the fear of God in citizens, in the electoral officials that will be sent. Sorry, the power was just interrupted where I am, but I hope you can still hear me.
Yes,
the Nigerian factor.
Indeed.
Yes,
we could still
and so we are hoping. Yes, yeah, thank you. We want to see better sanctions if officials default or are found complicit in the process.
Well, indeed, thank you. A number of those things that you said were key objectives for you to note and to see and to verify also coincided with what Professor Mukuta has said. He has said, among other things, that he will not disappoint Nigerians, as Nigerians were thinking that we need to know that INEC has learned from its past. Among the things that you have just enumerated, the good prof, interestingly, has also cited those things as things that are uppermost on the mind of INEC. So it does look like he does know where, he does know the lie of the ground, and he does know what is expected of him. Now, the other...
Yes, it seems so.
Sorry, please continue.
Yes. No, you can. I said that's what he said, and we'll be watching, and we hope he makes that mark in these elections.
Indeed. Now, the other thing that I'd like your comment on is this whole matter of voter apathy. It's been so, the latest was quite low. And people are, there must be a reason for that. And I don't know, maybe we could tie this to the, dare I say, overwhelming security, at least to look at it from the way the newspapers are, reporting on it. No less than 3 services, anti-riot, full gear. Whereas we understand perhaps what INEC is trying to do in arranging it this way, but there are those who are worried that might it not also scare away people?
Well, I'm so glad you asked this question on voter apathy, because, Anambra consistently has been a state with low voter turnout. The last governorship elections was about 10.2% voter turnout. The one before it was 10% turnout. I think the one before that was about 28%. But so you've seen from 28 to 10 and 10. And so there's a big question around the level of voter turnout. However, there's a little difference in the context from these elections compared to the 2021 governorship elections. You remember 2021, there was a lot of political tension, especially with the threats from the secessionist group movement, IPOP, the groups that they are threatening that voters shouldn't come out. And so there was that apparent fear, if you remember, in the last elections. And
That's right.
That could have also been a contributory factor to why we had that 10% turnout. However, the bigger question, for me, for turnout, there are 3 big things to look at. One, the quality of the process, because when the process is credible and transparent and voters trust that their vote would come out, they are a lot more inspired to participate. So, which is why we're big on getting this right. If we get it right, it would also have a multiplying effect across board. The second for us is the quality of governance and the role of political actors, because this one is not an INEC issue. This second part is the political leaders. A lot of times we've been engaging for months into the elections in the states and just engaging across local governments. Some voters to tell you why vote, because governance has not changed. For some of them in their communities, they've not had motorable roads, or things have gone bad economy-wise, access to funds. For a lot of them here are business owners. And even for the younger people, there's that lack of faith in the system. And so there is that big question around the quality of governance and how our political parties, political leaders, how they engage the process. If they continue to bandy threats and violent messages or violent rhetorics, it would also affect our citizens' participate. And if they keep undermining the process, it also affects citizens' participation. And then if they fail to deliver on governance and defense of democracy, younger people will be asking questions like, why should I vote when it doesn't change the quality of my life? And so there's a bigger question on governance that has affected how citizens even view the elections and the electoral process as a means of achieving quality governance that impacts on their daily lives. I think the third part is the voter apathy question. And when you talked about connecting it to security, yes, there is a reasonably huge deployment in Anambra, but it's also because of the security context. Anambra has both internal and external security dynamics. There is the issues around the unknown gunmen and some communities that are not even very accessible at the moment because of some violent non-state actors activities in those locations. They've also been issues around kidnapping and violence, but I do believe that this deployment, which is why I talked about the importance of better communication and professional security deployment. One thing that would be important for these elections is that, one, that the vigilante operatives are not part of the process.
They've been
because
banned.
while the vigilante operates, yes, because, you know, the state has the Udogachi, Agune Chamber, I can't remember, but the main is the Udogachi. One of the challenge has been some citizens have felt that there's been a harassment and intimidations by them. And in the by-election, some of them also played very negative roles in the elections. And so the call is for the Nigerian police to remain that elections security lead. And that these vigilante groups from today, actually, we don't want to see them across the state. They should stay away from the elections. Since we have police in 45, they said 45,000 police deployed. There's the NSCDC, we have the military and all. Let these official security agencies be those in charge of the elections. That way, we can control, or we can have a measure of control on election security in the state. And is a call to the IG had promised Nigerians in the stakeholders meeting that this is really enforced. We don't want to see the vigilantes as part of this process, and we don't want to see politicians moving with armed men on elections day. Is elections a civil activity? Let security be deployed to inspire confidence and not intimidation. And I think it's voter education. We have to keep doing voter education. Today is the last day for voter education, and tomorrow morning, let's use all platforms. Talk to Anna. For those watching, please come out and vote. Your vote is important. That is how your voice is heard in our democracy. So please come out and vote.
And potentially, Anambra is indeed ready, because all the newspapers are reporting are reporting the fact that INEC has reported a 98.8% PVC collection. So that shows that, well, although they said they were patting themselves on the back, perhaps rightly, that they had to extend the collection of the PVCs for I think about a week or so, and they say in that space they hit that high number of 98.8%. So it's one thing to have the PVC. The other thing, of course, is to indeed believe in the assurances we're getting from all these security pros, and come out and vote. That is the next step, and we won't know how well that has gone down until tomorrow. But what do you think? Do you think people, especially with that surge in the numbers of those who obtain their PVCs, does it suggest something positive to you?
Well, it is a hopeful sign. I would like to use the term hopeful, because usually that's how you assess. If you have high collection rates, then it means there's a likelihood for more citizens to turn out. But because we deal in the Nigerian context, remember in the general elections, we had about 98% voters, PVCs collected, but turnout was barely 27% at the national. And so if there's something we've learned just following elections in Nigeria, is not to be too excited with PVC collection rates, because some voters collect their PVCs for so many reasons. Some want a means of identification, and so that is the closest they can have. Our call to Anambra citizens is PVC. Yes, it's a means of identification, but the major purpose is to identify you as a voter, that you come out on elections day and cast your votes for the choice or the party or candidate of your choice, and watch the process till the results are counted at your polling unit. At the end of the day, elections are determined by those who turn out. If only 100 people come out, results will still be announced. There is no constitutional benchmark on how many people must turn out before results are announced. What matters is that people showed up, whether it's 10%, whether it's 5%, result to be announced. And I think for the Anambra voters, is for you to understand that if you don't show up to vote, it means only those who show up will decide what the future of the state is for the next 4 years, and your voice is no longer part of the system. So come out and vote. Even if, we always say this, that most times we say we don't trust the system. But the truth is, the reason we have vote buying in the by-elections, monies as high as 20,000 naira was shared to voters. You can imagine, if votes were not counting, politicians will not be going to the polls to buy votes. They wouldn't be deploying huge amounts of money, because politicians look for how to win elections at all costs. So it shows that the system is working. It's just that the more you lose faith in the process, the easier it is to manipulate, because with lower turnout, it's easier to manipulate results or change figures. But when you have higher turnout, it's difficult to really do things, especially at the polling unit. And so the call is to Nigerians, voters in Anambra State, to actually come out and vote, because the system as it is, if you follow it through, you can see that votes are beginning to count. But unfortunately, with money getting in, it means that the votes that are counting are those that are bought. So politicians understand this. They want to look for ways to make you not trust the system. And I think it's important we know that it works. And as we call to voters to come out, our next call is to INEC. You don't want voters to come out and then you don't promote transparency. These things go hand in hand. When the voters show up, we need to allow them experience a process that enables easy casting of votes, that you come, the BVAS is working, you're accredited, you cast your votes and you leave, and that the process of result collation is transparent, so that these things go hand in hand. When you inspire people to come out, they come out and the process works. It then gives the next voter who did not show up a good story to want to turn up in the next elections. Everything we're doing now is laying the ground for 2027 general elections. And so Anambra is so critical for me and for us, because if we get Anambra right, it means Ekiti and Osun would improve on it. And by the next general elections, we'll have a better chance of a process that is truly inclusive, but more importantly, transparent and credible. So it's a call to voters, but also a big call to the Electoral Commission to get it right in Anambra State.
How about the politicians themselves? If I recall, about 17 parties are taking part in this election, including the party of the incumbent governor. Sometimes the role of politicians is significant in how elections go. Are all the politicians saying the right things? Are they conducting themselves in the right way that would further encourage the electorate, in your opinion, having observed preparations?
In my opinion, I have mixed feelings about this, or mixed reactions about this. First, there was a peace accord signing, and the 16 political parties candidates signed to the peace accord. And their signing of the peace accord shows their commitment to peaceful elections. And we're hoping that their supporters in the field saw and watched and observed that signing of the peace accord as a message that they also are supposed to abide to the terms in the peace accord. So there's one. I'm glad they all signed it. It shows that commitment on their part. The second is the part around how political parties, like you mentioned, their role is very important in the elections. I wish they were investing a lot more in voter education and voter mobilization. If you go to certain climes, I always like to make example with elections within the continent. In Ghana elections 2024, I was in as far part of the northern part of the country, and I saw how parties were the ones doing door-to-door voter education and mobilization. And it was impressive to see that parties understand that they have an important role in educating the citizens on how to participate and vote, not just giving them monies to participate. And that is an example of when parties are aware of their important role in the democratic consolidation of a nation. I do not know if our parties understand that they are a key institution in Nigeria's democracy project. I'm hoping they are becoming aware of that, because what we wanted to see from parties is a massive voter education, that they are doing their door-to-door campaigns, educating their voters, because at the end, they are the beneficiaries. They are the ones who win elections. None of us here are contesting, it's the parties. And so that is one thing I've not seen. We didn't have a lot of, we did not observe a lot of voter mobilization and voter education by the parties, especially in engaging them on why they should participate and how to vote. The other parties, it's been relatively calm. And so I would say we've not had a lot of violent rhetorics from the parties, although there are some pockets of it, but it's still a caution to the parties that they must be cordial in their competition. We want to see healthy competition in our elections. We don't want to see aggression. And that is what makes election beautiful, that you compete healthily, you compete on the issues, you compete on the things citizens want to hear about, not on personalities or attacks on individual personalities. So it's still a call to political parties. Honestly, they have a role to play. I always say this, if our democracy would work, it would work because our political elites have a consensus on why democracy needs to work.
Yeah.
If we do not have the reformation of the mindset of our political parties, we can reform the process all we want, and we will still not achieve results because they must go hand in hand. As we reform and build our process, our politicians, our political parties and elites must also have their mindsets reformed. They must also engage from a point of a democratic political culture. That is one way to strengthen our democracy.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much. We've been joined by, trying to join us is Mazi Okorafor. Mazi Okorafor, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, against Mazi Okorafor from Aruchukwu, Abia State, God's own state. Well, tomorrow will be Igbo for everybody in Anambra State. My main concern, there are two things. I'm just pleading with the transport Anambra State if they have contracted the business with the INEC. Previous report or research work we normally encounter every day during elections is the issue of transportation, late arrival of materials. Either the car will break down or fuel finish or driver develop something. The INEC should go and get all these companies that will provide good vehicles for them, not this Akroka motor. You don't want Akroka motor tomorrow. And the youth, please come out and go and vote, not to be going to be playing football where you see empty land, empty road, where there's no motor moving. You tell me. At the end of the day, it is you who will come back and complain that no water, no light, no the school fees, kaza. But the thing is, I'm just pleading with the parents. Do not allow children to be used as a weapon of mass destruction, because parents, you sit down the after vote, you come back to the house, maybe you're watching television or cooking or just relaxing. A child or your children will be used for destruction, which is not healthy. And we should do the needful. The INEC chairman, this is everybody litmus test, well, although it is chemical test, but this one is a practical oriented that has to do with human beings. Whether it's litmus test, I'm just pleading everybody there. Political parties, people are complaining. This is what you want, this is what you want. Come out and vote for candidates of your blood. Not a question of political party. Vote for person that will deliver. Person that when federal government give their allocation, Tinubu government give their allocation, they will use the needful. Now when they collect the money, they will start telling you story. The money just did that, either they quit or this and that, and they just have to do no. What we want is people that will come out, let them do the needful. But I'm not pleading with politicians. If you fail tomorrow, please accept it in good faith. That is what we call sportsmanship, not to go and cause wahala. Good morning, Mazo Krapo from us. By the grace of God, all things being equal. They should know foreign countries are watching, their eyes, their internet, everything. Zones are watching Nigeria. Good morning, Mazo Krapo from us.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okorafor. Cynthia, your thoughts? Mazi has actually, he spent some time even advising the populace in Anambra.
Yes. Yes, and I love his passion and even what he's addressing. He's calling out to everyone and even to the political parties to understand it's a competition. He used the term good sportsmanship because when you go and play football, we support our different clubs, when we lose with grace and we go back and plan for the next. So it's the same thing we're looking for in these elections, that once the process, once the process is fair and transparent, it's easier for people to accept outcomes. And we always advise political parties, even if you're not satisfied with the outcome, there are legal ways to expressing your grievances. We need a system that lasts after us. And Nigeria working is for the benefit of every Nigerian, not for a class of people. And so we want to see that work. But I love his call to young people especially. I always say this, Nigerian youth, they are the present and the future. Our democracy would succeed if young people actually take charge of the process. And this is a call. I will join Mazi from from Abia to call out to everyone, young people especially. This election is for you. Everything that happens is influenced by political decision. The quality of life and services is influenced by political decision. So we have to care about who wins elections and who represents us in every political office. So please come out and vote. Nigeria's democracy is dependent on our ability to engage and make demands on the system to work for us.
Okay then. Philip in Ikorodu, good morning. Philip in Ikorodu.
Yeah.
Good morning. Go ahead, please.
Good morning.
Your television is on, and you can't do that. Please mute your television.
Good morning, Cynthia.
Good morning, but mute your television. Mute the volume of your television. Otherwise, we're going to have to disconnect this call. Please, Philip, mute your television audio. Philip, are you still there?
What I just want to contribute. Okay.
Okay, carry on, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Carry on.
I want to appreciate God for the Cynthia's analysis, and very brilliant, and I appreciate her. Do you know Nigeria has no problem about this election issue? But the primary problem, the problem is the politicians themselves. They want to get power by fire, by force. They want to make sure that they achieve their own. That look at all these diversion issues, diversion. They are diverted because of their personal interest. But we encourage the new INEC chairman to do what is right, to be faithful to this cause, and never allow any politician to direct them. When we do all this, I want to assure you, Nigeria will be best. Nigeria will enjoy this political terrain, and everything will work well, as Cynthia has said earlier. So I pray the Lord will help you and help all of us in Jesus' name. God bless you.
Well, thank you very much, Philip. We'll take a break now from our conversation with Cynthia Mbamalu, Director of Programs, IAGA Africa, one of the observers, one of the many observers there. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll also be joined by J.K. Pele, who is of TAF, you know. So stay with us as we go off on our break.
Years of ambition, campaigns, and planning culminate here as Anambra decides who the next governor will be. See it all through the lenses of our cameras and the eyes of our seasoned journalists.
Political parties and INEC get set for Anambra governorship election.
As TVC News presents Anambra Decides, from the first vote to the last count, we'll stay with the story.
It's 1 month countdown to the 2025 Anambra State Governorship election.
And bring you all the highlights of the election. Anambra Decides, a TVC News special coverage of the Anambra State election on the 8th of November 2025. TVC News, first with breaking news.
The Renewed Hope Initiative RHI presents the RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow. This national competition is in 3 categories. The household category is a tree planting competition amongst 11 frontline states in northern Nigeria. Each participating household in Adamawa, Borno, Bauchi, Gombe, Jigawa, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Sokoto, Yobe, and Zamfara states will plant a minimum of 1 tree to qualify, with a video evidence of before and after the tree planting exercise. 20 million naira would be awarded to the best household. Submission deadline is 20th December 2026. Community category will see local governments, local communities, schools, and NGOs reclaim and transform degraded or abandoned areas such as dump sites, landfills, parks and their likes into green, vibrant gardens, parks and eco-friendly spaces. 50 million naira would be awarded to the overall best community group. Deadline for submission is 15th July 2026. State category will have all states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, excluding Enugu State, have a chance to address the growing threats to environmental sustainability and cleanliness. States will be judged based on the number of trees planted on major roads and inner streets and how clean they are. 100 million naira will be awarded to the best performing state. Already, Enugu State has 100 million naira for being RHI's model green state due to its greenery and cleanliness. Video evidence must be submitted by participating states on or before 20th December 2026. All entries must be directed to RHI Office, State House, Abuja, or email rhi.greenchallenge@statehouse.gov.ng. RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow.
Okay, so welcome back, and tomorrow is the governorship election in Anambra State, and preparations are, I would say, at a very high gear, because apart from having 98%, apart from having over 98%, you know, we've been speaking with our director of programs at Yaga Africa, Cynthia Mbamalu, who has said that by and large, it is indeed the case that everything is in order, but you never can tell. It's like never say never. So it's like we can't relax. We've spoken about the security. We've spoken about other things like what is expected of INEC. And as you can see in that picture there, Mr. Jake Ekpele, the founder and CEO of TAF Africa. That's it. Jake, I got that right. TAF Africa.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Fine morning to you. Great to see you. Now, you are in Anambra as well, as an observer, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things that we've been hearing
by Cynthia.
Yes. Well, there are much more than there are much more than the two of you there. I think one paper put it at almost 100. It looks like the world is interested in how it goes. Maybe this particular first outing of Professor Amikputon, maybe that's also part of it. But Jake, the thing that has been exciting that you have been speaking about in the past few days is the approval by INEC of 25, I believe, sign language interpreters to take part in the election. Talk to us a bit about that, and how is that going to work?
Well, I think it's a game changer in terms of participation of persons with disability, because at South Africa, we found out that there are places where persons with disability, especially the deaf, will be, and they don't have a sign language interpreter. I think I will also tell you that we are fortunate to be joined by the vice chair of South Africa, someone that you will really, really love to hear, who is Amina Zakari. Amina Zakari is our vice chair and former national chairman of INEC. Maybe at some point you would have us say a few words. But the point you made is valid. For the first time in the history of election monitoring, we have 25 sign language interpreters that we are deploying, guided by data science. So we are looking at specific polling units where you have persons who are deaf that will need the services of sign language interpreters. And we are ensuring those of them that are not rich enough or doesn't have aids, that these standby aids will immediately, as a backup plan, sign for them at the polling unit. They, just for clarity, they are not to stay there with INEC staff and those in the PU. They would observe a deaf person coming. They will accompany that deaf person, sign for that deaf person until at the point where the person will go in and vote, and then sign to escort that deaf person out of the PU vicinity. And then they will just be there waiting for another person that will need their services. So it's an innovation. It's not been done in the history of sign language interpreters in the electoral process. However, again, for clarity, there have been times that persons who are deaf will then be followed by their aide to vote. But we are just keeping these people on standby. Yes, INEC did the approval, but contrary to what is making rounds in the media, INEC is not the one deploying. We are deploying, but we got the approval to deploy. And thanks to this current INEC chair, because at first it was going to be rocky. Eventually, he quickly, as a lawyer, he saw that the provisions are there in the Electoral Act, Section 54, subsection 1 and 2, the involvement of sign language interpreters. And there was a little bit of politics that, the INEC guideline does not specify that. That's not correct. And Cynthia is a lawyer. Cynthia will tell you that the law supersedes guideline. Where there is law, yes. Where there's law and there's a guideline, the guideline cannot overrule the law. The law overrules the guideline, and that's what I don't need to be. I don't need to have an IQ of a mushroom of a lawyer to know that. So I quickly pointed that out to National Commissioner May. Incidentally, she's a lawyer. She said, "Look, Jake, you're absolutely right." So I want to commend the INEC chairman because that was proactivity on his own part. I was not going to be happy until he gave that breaking news, and when he did, he personally started tweeting it, and all that. So that was a good thing for inclusivity, and a heartwarming thing for all of us. And I can't be. I want to use the opportunity to thank my colleagues in Niaga Africa, Samson, Cynthia, for lending your voice, your voices. We got that, we crossed that bridge because you added your voice. So I just wanted to say that.
Indeed.
And also to thank you in the media because you helped to highlight it. And here we are. I think it's one of the best inclusive decisions that this current INEC chairman had taken. And that shows us, and I want to also say that he called me personally and says to me, "Look, Jake, I am aware of the work that South Africa has done in the inclusive space. And I assure you that I'm going to work with South Africa to ensure that inclusivity will continue to be a positive feature in the electoral space."
Okay. Cynthia, you spoke about this, part of this at the beginning. I think when you were talking about integrity, I don't know if I heard inclusivity was also part of it, but I'd like you to comment on this initiative of, TAF Africa.
Yes, it is a positive one, and we are celebrating this inclusion. This is why I say inclusion in real sense, because this is the first, in fact, probably one of the first in most of the countries in West Africa where you have sign language interpretation at polling units. And that is thanks to the efforts, the doggedness of South Africa to push for these to get done. But it's also a call, one, that there is proper communication to the officials in the field to ensure that the interpreters are well catered for and they are respected in the work that they are doing, that there is no, that they are not stopped from getting their work done. That's one. The other part is INEC's commitment for assistive materials. We still join our voices to make that demand that the required assistive materials like the Braille ballot guide, the magnifying glasses, we need to see those present at the polling units so that the voters that need that to get their work voting done will be able to vote without any stress. We also talked about access. You know, setup of polling units should be done in a way that voters with physical disabilities do not encounter any stress or disadvantage. So simple things like setting up at a leveled ground, ensuring there's no gutter, you know, where you have the drain, people have to jump or climb high planes. Those are important. So the way polling units are set up must be set up in a way to achieve easy voting for persons with disability. Interestingly, Anambra is one of the states that passed the Disability Act into law some years ago, and they've been doing a lot to ensure that the society is disability friendly. We want to see that play out in these elections. So we want to see words behind the action, or rather actions behind the word in these particular elections, which is where security comes in. Security is important also because we need this voting process to be secured so that persons with disability can vote and they do not need to run for their lives at any point in time. Because when there is violence, we also create a vulnerable situation for voters with disability.
Indeed. Dr. Drosimi, can you hear us?
Good morning. I can hear you, Uncle Yori.
Okay. Good morning. Go ahead now, please.
Good morning. I want to assure you that Anambra election is going to be a model, positive one, and from the deployment of the police and other security services around, I am telling you that election is going to be very secure. And with the new INEC chairman, what he has done so far in terms of the deployment, from what we have seen, is going to be a model, it's going to be a successful election. And I'm sure the chairman will live up to his name. That is to say, historical reference point. That is the interpretation of the name as far as I'm concerned. It's going to be a model, and whatever how tomorrow the evening will be, we start from going from the morning. From what I've seen so far, Anambra election is going to be a successful one and going to be a model for others to come.
Okay.
So far, so good. Deployment is interesting from what I've seen, and even the people who have been brought, different departments, show that INEC is very ready, and they're going to give us a credible election.
Okay. All right then. Okay. You know, in terms of what Cynthia was.
Yori, Yori, if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you, Jake.
Hello, Yori. You can hear me.
Can you hear me? Okay. I can hear you.
Let me make a quick two quick points. I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
One, what my colleague said, Cynthia. Yeah, what my colleague said, Cynthia. We are not just leaving the sign language interpreters that we're deploying. We are making sure that we have our own roving team to go around, talk to the security operatives, talk to INEC officials, because this directive came a little bit late, although INEC chairman did mention it during the stakeholders, but we're going to monitor the process to make sure that they're effectively utilized. Otherwise, the funds that we're spending to make sure that they are there would be wasted.
Okay.
So we're going to monitor.
All right then. Thank you for that addition. Elder David, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Yori. Thank you very much. God will bless you.
Amen. And you too, sir.
This is a test case for the new INEC chairman. I just want. Good morning, sir. Are you hearing me well, sir?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, this is a test message for the new INEC chairman. But we thank God for one thing. Since 2015, when the APC come in, there have been changes in the election issue. Starting with Jega, though no election is perfect all over the world, the APC have tried so much. But this man will improve on what has happened. All these presidential elections in different states, it was created by PDP. Yes, the time of Igede, this is how this one come up. That of the time of Obasanjo and others. Then the same thing at Ondo, the same thing with Osun, the same thing with Edo State. Anyway, whatever happened is that the best candidate will win. What will happen, the election will be very perfect. I want to advise the NGO. Don't say because there is a little problem in one polling booth, then we are condemning the whole election. So let us be very careful, because this one is a very testing thing for this new INEC chairman, and they are going to perform well, provided police will cooperate very well. And I've seen actually police will do their job.
Indeed.
Then the NGO themselves will equally do their job. They should not report a conflicting issue, though they have been trying their best. May God bless Nigeria. May God bless this government. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elder David. Okay, I think we should give our thanks to Brother Jake Epele. Thank you very much. We heard you were in Anambra. We had to reach for you. Thank you for making the time for us. Jake Epele, Dr. Jake Epele, founder and CEO of TAF Africa. Okay, well, Cynthia, some of the things he was talking about, and if I combine that with all the, well, I don't want to use the word overwhelming again, but the plentiful security. I think they have explained it that for the avoidance of doubt, this does not mean that these uniformed people are going to be within the place. That is not what we're talking about. He said that they will just be some distance away, and they will just make sure that everything is as should be, but they will not be within the booths. They will not cause any kind of disturbance, but they would just be there. I don't know if that is supposed to be this show of force. Before you comment on that, let me quickly bring in Mr. Ade in the UK. Good morning. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Yori. Good morning, your guest. Whoever is the people who want in Anambra, I wish them good luck. But my question to Cynthia is this. I've been looking for the opportunity to ask. Who are the people funding Yaga? Who are the people behind funding you people? Because you lean towards PDP in every election. You lean towards PDP. I want funding from Yaga because Nigeria. Who funds Yaga?
Okay. Fair question, Cynthia. Although I'm not sure about his premise. Yes, he said you always support a particular party.
Yeah. No. Yaga Africa is non-partisan and independent, where we work. In fact, our motto is we're for all Nigerians, we're driven by data, and we're beholden to none, which is why if you follow through every elections, when we give our statement, we are clearly driven by data. We're non-partisan, and we've never been funded by any political party. I want to state that clearly. And it's important to note that there are several elections where you have different parties making reference to our findings. We've had, at different points, we've had the APC, PDP, Labour, ZLP, different parties reaching out to our data. Sometimes they've used it to support even their own statements. And I think it's important that we were clearly putting that out. When you ask, our funding, honestly, is from international partners. For Anambra elections were funded by the European Union, and we're deploying as part of a cohort of the EU SDGN that supports democratic governance elections observation hub. So we have Yaga Africa, we have TAF Africa, we have SEMESO, IPC, Women Trust, Nigerian Women Trust Fund, Electa, and the Coca Center. We're working as what we call the Anambra Election Observation Hub. And in total, we have about 637 observers across covering different thematic issues. So you have South Africa, for instance, focusing on inclusivity for disability. You have the Women's Trust Fund and Electa focusing on gender-related dynamics of the elections. You have the Coca Center, who convenes the Nigerian National Peace Committee for the Peace Accord signing and also looking at issues of security. You have SEMESO and IPC focusing on media, so they'll be having media observation or media reporters deployed in the field. I'm observing. Then YAGA Africa, we're deploying the process and results for verification transparency methodology, which uses statistics and technology to observe the process and the result. So I hope that has properly provided the response. I think civil society, a lot of us here are quite, at least for those we work with, we are non-partisan. A lot of us are big on independence and neutrality, and our focus is to support our democracy project in Nigeria. Once our democracy works, we all benefit. So we always say for our observation, our responsibility is to the Nigerian people, not to any party, not to any government, not even to the donors. Our responsibility is to the Nigerian people, because our goal is to strengthen Nigeria's democracy.
Well, thank you very much, Cynthia, for that comprehensive as it could be in the few seconds that you had to share all of that with us. I want to thank you very much indeed for making time as well. Cynthia Mbamalu, Director of Programs, YAGA Africa. You know, I hope that Mr. Ade is now knows YAGA a bit better than before he asked the question. So thank you very much, Cynthia, for coming on our program today. Okay, then.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to have to leave it there, but do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folare. Oh, well, it's Saturday, so let's make that Monday. So do have a great weekend. See you on Monday, God willing. Bye-bye for now.
Following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV.
It's Black Friday, the biggest shopping celebration of the year. And you know what that means. It's time for massive deals, unbeatable prices, and jaw-dropping discounts. Only on ShopX TV. Do you wish there was a single solution to handle all your blending, chopping, and grinding needs? Introducing the CookX 4-in-1 Blender, the ultimate kitchen tool to revolutionize your cooking. It's a food processor, mixer, grinder, and blender all in one. The incredible CookX 4-in-1 Blender comes with 3 versatile cup sizes, each tailored to handle a specific task perfectly. The CookX 4-in-1 Blender elevates your cooking, allowing you to effortlessly create truly smooth smoothies. No more stopping, stirring, or straining. Just smooth, consistent results every time. This adaptable blender includes 3 convenient cup sizes, each designed for specific tasks to simplify your life. The 650ml cup, the 450ml cup, the 1.8-liter cup. Additionally, the CookX 4-in-1 Blender features a convenient filter, allowing you to create smooth, pulp-free juices. The secret of the CookX blender lies in its 800-watt motor, combined with a precision extractor blade, providing the power to transform ordinary foods into extraordinary dishes. And with multiple speeds, you get complete control over any recipe you create. Savory stews, delicious egusi in just 10 to 30 seconds. Perfectly blended beans for akara or moi moi in 1 to 3 minutes. And everything in between. Get the CookX 4-in-1 Blender right now at our Black Friday clearance sale price. Now only 100,000 Naira. That's a massive 89,950 Naira off the original price of 189,950 Naira. And it gets even better. Enjoy free delivery straight to your doorstep. So don't wait. Call now or scan the QR code on your screen to grab this Black Friday deal before it disappears. Don't settle for less. Blend better, faster and smarter with the CookX 4-in-1 blender. This exclusive Black Friday deal won't last forever. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV.
Years of ambition, campaigns and planning culminate here as Anambra decides who the next governor will be. See it all through the lenses of our cameras and the eyes of our seasoned journalists.
Political parties and INEC get set for Anambra governorship election.
As TVC News presents Anambra Decides, from the first vote to the last count, we'll stay with the story.
It's 1 month countdown to the 2025 Anambra State Governorship election.
And bring you all the highlights of the election. Anambra Decides, a TVC News special coverage of the Anambra State election on the 8th of November 2025. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Nigeria is perched on a treasure trove of solid minerals. Gold, coal, tantalum, tin, but none is more critical to our future or the world's future like lithium.
Let's talk about illegal mining operations. What is our strategy?
The Inspector General of Police has met with senior officers to review the state of security.
We are continuing our coverage of the arrest of Godwin Emefiele.
The Senate has summoned the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria to properly brief the Senate regarding the state of the economy.
What I will never take is threat.
Let's now bring you more development from Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, where an explosion has taken place. Tell us about this incident.
TVC News, first with breaking news. At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
It's another moment to stay informed and ahead as we bring you stories shaping our nation and beyond. Thanks for joining us on the Midday News. Let's begin with this developing story in Abuja, where just moments ago, Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court fixed judgment for November 20th in the terrorism trial of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. Justice Omotosho chose the date while ruling after Mr. Kanu failed to open his defense, having exhausted the 6 days allocated to him by the court to conduct his defense. The judge said Mr. Kanu, having failed to utilize the opportunity granted him to conduct his defense, he cannot claim to have been denied the constitutionally guaranteed rights to fair hearing. The story is still unfolding, and TVC News will continue monitoring the development and bring you more details in our subsequent bulletins. We're staying with the ongoing UN Climate Summit in Brazil, where Vice President Kashim Shettima is asking world leaders to move from pledges to performance in tackling the global climate crisis. Speaking at the COP30 in Belém, the Vice President representing President Bola Tinubu reaffirmed Nigeria's climate leadership and commitment to cut emissions by 32% by the year 2025. TVC News State House correspondent Femi Akande now reports.
Nigeria is calling for action, not just promises. At the Leaders Climate Summit, Vice President Kashim Shettima challenged world leaders to turn climate pledges into measurable results that can save lives and protect the planet.
Our continent is rich in renewable resources, biodiversity, and useful ingenuity. I hereby say with absolute certainty that we are not the problem. We are an integral part of the solution. This is why at COP30, we hope to demonstrate that Africa can lead in carbon capture through forests, in renewable energy expansion, in digital monitoring of emissions, and in regional cooperation that translates ambition into prosperity.
VP Shettima unveiled Nigeria's renewed climate agenda anchored on National Carbon Market Framework and the Climate Change Fund, initiatives designed to attract billions of dollars in clean energy and adaptation investments. He insists that climate ambition cannot be financed by goodwill alone, urging fair and equitable financing mechanisms for developing nations.
No nation can finance climate ambition with goodwill alone. Climate finance remains the vehicle of effective implementation, and we therefore call for a reliable and equitable architecture that recognizes the unique realities of developing nations and empowers them to deliver on global commitments. Nigeria welcomes the operationalization of the Loss and Damage Fund and urges our partners to ensure its accessibility to the most climate vulnerable nations.
Nigeria's climate roadmap also includes a 5-year carbon market plan, emission trading systems, and a carbon tax regime, all geared toward clean industrial innovation and rural electrification through gas and solar expansion. At the same summit, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that the world has failed to keep global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius and must act now to avoid catastrophic consequences.
We need a paradigm shift to limit this overshoot's magnitude and duration and quickly drive it down. Even a temporary average overshoot will have dramatic consequences. It could push ecosystems past irreversible tipping points, expose billions to unlivable conditions, and amplify threats to peace and security.
Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva also called for collective global effort, emphasizing that the fight against climate change must go hand in hand with fighting poverty and inequality.
Ele se tornou o espelho das maiores qualidades e limitações da ação multilateral.
And from the United Kingdom, the Prince of Wales, William, echoed a message of responsibility for the future.
Where we unite behind shared purpose, we can scale and accelerate solutions that transcend borders. Solutions that give us hope and fill us with optimism for the future.
From Belém, Brazil, Nigeria joins global calls for urgent climate action, not just promises, to safeguard the planet for generations to come. Femi Akonde, TVC News.
In other news, about 100 energy-efficient homes have been handed over to indigent widows in Kaduna State. The project, developed through a partnership between the Family Homes Funds and the Kaduna State government, is the pilot phase of a wider plan to expand access to affordable housing. Lupe Asom now reports.
Governor Obasani has commissioned 100 energy-efficient homes for indigent widows, the pilot phase of a new social housing program. He says the project promotes inclusive growth and social justice with vulnerable groups at the center of development plans.
We believe that development must be inclusive and that our women, especially widows and single mothers, must be at the center of our social transformation agenda. We are already scaling up initiatives in affordable housing, job creation, and skill development. And we see today's commission as a model for future partnership between the Kaduna State government, federal government, and development finance.
This project reflects
our commitment to environmental responsibility. These homes are energy efficient, incorporating solar energy and sustainable materials. In doing so, we are not only reducing energy costs for these families, but also setting a standard.
Governor Obasani thanks the federal government, including the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Housing, for supporting Kaduna's push for affordable housing.
Over the last 1 year and a half, Mr. President and the team and the governors have been working on a ward development plan so that each of the 8,809 wards in Nigeria, their economic opportunities, their needs will be mapped and understood so that combination of local, federal, and state resources will be brought to ensure that that problem is solved.
The administration says it is closing Kaduna's housing deficit through stronger partnership with local and international investors. Governor Obasani says the homes represent hope and dignity for widows who have suffered hardship. He pledged continued partnership with the Family Homes Funds and the federal government to expand affordable housing.